Hi everyone, this is Kelly from The Truth in Story back again. I just filmed a quick little VR to Kelly Bear's 5 decks that you would take with you. I cheated just a little bit, but I surmised from my psychic intuition that Miss Kelly Bear wouldn't mind because I feel that she is a rebel at heart and she wouldn't mind me cheating, so we'll see. So I just finished that and I'm cleaning up the mess, not the mess, because there's only 5 decks, right? But putting stuff away, so I'd have a little chit chat. I'm going to do a Thoth walkthrough when I get done with this, and I can't wait because I got to put this one back, because of course I took a picture for Instagram. Okay. So, gotta put those decks. Oh, I feel like that is I'm stacking some decks to put back, and I feel like I have a disaster waiting to happen, which is not a good thing. So, today is I have so much my reading table is an absolute mess right now. It's a mess. I need to get it under control. This side's actually perfect. This side is a mess. It's all stacking everywhere. So today is the anchor and the cross cards for Lenormand. Now I am using my beautiful distressed, I call it my Hope Lenormand. I don't know if you can, yeah, I think you can see that. It looks like there's hope written in dust. I just love that. So I am using my anchor and what did I say it was? And cross. Look at that. Bam, they're right next to each other. That was fortuitous. I'm going to use those today because an anchor is an anchor is an anchor. A cross is a cross is a cross, right? And I don't know why I have this up here because we've been putting it down. Because mostly I have like a lesson and I need to be able to show it to you. And I am going to do a spread. But I guess we just decided to start here. And so I can randomly shuffle down here and annoy you and just say hello before I switch down to, I love these cards. Miss Melissa gave me these cards and she was quite happy with how I slaughtered them. So, yes. Okay, so we need to go ahead and switch down because we need to look at these cards. Alrighty, my phone out of the way. Here we have the instructions. Let's see. Get everything. I know I have my gold here going on, but I think we'll be okay. Here we have my anchor card and my cross card, and of course I think my index is over there because nope. Okay. So the anchor for me is the work card. That's just me personally. It's also, I believe, the German work card. So as far as significators go, this would be my my regular everyday work card. So we have work, stability, and routine as our quick keywords. And for cross, of course, we have, this is our last, we did can the fish. These are our last 2 to talk about. Tomorrow starts lots of spreads. We're going to start pulling some spreads together. Now you did a spread and we've done some spreads in between now and then, but we're going to start really looking at those spreads. So that's exciting. So cross we have as your burden. Some people use it as fate. I don't really believe in fate, so I don't use it so much as fate. I mostly use it as burden. I don't even really use it as destiny. That's for me more the stars card. So for me, this is just about burdens and difficulties. I mean, what else do we need it to be besides that? This is our difficult card. When we go and look to our positive, you know, on our scale here, the anchor card is positive neutral. So it's leaning towards the positive. Our cross is all the way negative, so it is always going to impact what is around it. So that is our things that we have there. Let's just take a look at another example of what the cross may be. I always think it was interesting that they ended it with the cross. Now, some people put it as the crossing. I have heard this, certainly the Enchanted Lenormand puts it as the crossing, which does have that inevitability, the heaviness, the necessity, burdens, tests, trials, ordeals. Fate, again, I don't usually use that, but you might. An act of God, that kind of thing. If it's a person, it would be somebody who is devout. And such like that. So for me, yeah, and it does even say compare 16 star for destiny, 22 path for free will, the mountain for circumventable challenges, the coffin for closure, this kind of thing. I do like the compare section of decks. But for me, I don't really work towards the idea of destiny. So this is just burden. This is difficulties. These are heavy burdens. But you might say to yourself, how would this be different than the clouds? And that's an excellent question. Let me get my one. Let's look. At the cross at Mr. Andy's book. We have hardships, fate, and faith. The cross's essence is suffering. They can be an actual test that you don't want to take, which makes sense. It can also stand in for religion of any denomination. It's just that, so you can have, but it's that idea of carrying a heavy burden. But let's take a look, because this is an interesting, we have two, really dark, heavy, painful things. But let's take a look at, so the clouds are about tribulation, problems, and it's more confusion. And I really look to the clouds as more as mental confusion, disorientation, definitely more along the idea of uncertainty, so that sort of thing, whereas the cross are actual burdens and trials and troubles that you're really going through. So that's kind of how I would differentiate those. A little bit more air to the clouds, this makes sense, and a little bit more physical, real life problems that need to be dealt with the cross. Now, let's see. So what do we have as a question? I see these trying to maintain stability through difficult times. What are some of the things you do to stay grounded and get through times in your life when you just need to get the other side of a circumstance? What was I thinking, people, when I did this in March? I don't know. I truthfully, when I did these questions, I just anchor cross, okay, stability in difficult. I just literally went with whatever came to my mind first and rolled with it. And clearly, I mean, what else, how else would you describe this? So, yeah, so this is definitely an appropriate duo for this week, to wrap up this week with. It has been a difficult week. There have been worse weeks in my life, but this has definitely been a difficult one. I've done pretty well through the month in, really focusing and doing my kind of work day by day with the within without advice challenge, if I can speak. So that has helped, but this week has been difficult. So what are some things that you might do what I might do, I guess I should say, to stay grounded and get through those times in your life when you just need to get to the other side. You know, this, for me, like this idea of kind of remaining stable in difficulty. I had a discussion in one of my videos about the mountain. And it was not in the context of Lenormand. I don't even remember what it was in the context. It was a different, I think it was with the, it was an oracle deck. Oh, I can, the Earth Oracle, or the Earth, something about the Earth Oracle. And the mountain card came up, and it was really that idea, and we talked a lot about that idea of staying stable, even when you've got like long-term problems that you need to get through. And so that the idea of endurance with the mountain card was one that we discussed, and that, you know, really talks about, I think we talked also about some things of getting through. For me, there is a little bit of that aspect of just putting your nose to the grindstone, that sometimes, you know, put one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be walking out the door. Put one foot in front of the other. I can't remember what that song name is, but it's from, no, it's from, what's it from? Kris Kringle? It's one of the old Christmas ones that were like those animated one, and it had the Kris Kringle, I think, and the snow monster, the ice monster. Anyways, there is a little bit of that to do with just getting through the other side of something, is that sometimes you simply have to just keep moving forward. Just put your head down and get through it. That is sometimes, you know, what you have to do. Staying grounded for me is also helpful in keeping a routine. If I really let myself get out of routine, it makes things worse. This is for me particular, and I'm not a particularly routined person. I don't have to go to bed at a certain time. I don't have to wake up at a certain time. I mean, there's times I have to get up at a specific time, but for the most part, I don't have to get up at a specific time. My life is fairly flexible, but I do still have routines. I still do need to get up. I still do need to, you know, kind of stay with those routines. And, you know, my life now, it's not always been this way. So even with the kids, you know, growing up and all the things with Michael, staying with as much of a routine as we could with the changing circumstances all the time was important. So that was a way of staying grounded. Really focusing on the things that are important. When things are really rough, there are some things that are simply not important. Having an absolutely spotless house, it's not important to me. Now, to somebody else, having a clean house when things are rough, that's going to be important to them because it's going to keep their brain from being cluttered. And I'm not saying to let everything go to complete mess, because that can be very stressful no matter what. But again, there are some things that you have to recognize simply aren't important anymore. So staying focused on the things that mattered, because you only have so much energy when you're in a really trying time. And so focusing on the things that mattered can keep me grounded. Getting outside for me is one of those things that will get me through to the other side, because I'm generally much of a hermit. And so I am going to most often be inside gaming, writing, reading, tarot reading, watching YouTube videos. You know, everything that I do is generally inside and on my butt. And so Isabel's been very helpful with that, because she likes to take WALKs, which I'm not going to say because she'll freak out, and A, it's dark, and B, it's pouring rain. So she's been very good, because if, you know, when the weather's decent, you know, and she just needs to get out, that gets me out of the house as well with some fresh air. Even if it's only for 20 minutes, it's 20 minutes of fresh air and kind of gets me reinvigorated. And certainly when things are rough, that's really good. Puppy snuggles. Let's not discount the power of puppy snuggles when things are rough. That's definitely there. Certainly those people that ground you. For me, again, because I have a hermit mentality, when things are rough, I'm going to go inward. I'm going to go into the shell. I'm not going to reach out. I'm not going to say I'm really struggling. I'm really not. Well, I'm getting better at it. You all actually have had a very good impact on me of teaching me to say, you know what, I'm having a really rough time. Because this is a hard week. Really talking about it and verbalizing verbalizing about it when I'm having personal difficulty. I've never had a problem talking about hard times in general. I've never had a hard time advocating for people to understand how difficult chronic illness is, how difficult and devastating it is to people to deal with these things on a long-term basis. All of this. I've never had any issue verbalizing and vocalizing those types of things. But for me to literally say, not, people in general who are in this position, but I am hurting, I am struggling, I am really having a hard time to keeping my head above the water, I need help. That is very, very difficult for me. And that is something that you all have definitely in the last year taught me, that it's okay to talk about it and I know this month's had a lot of it, and I'm sure a lot of people are kind of over it, which I understand. The month's almost over, but because I've been doing very specific grief work, because it's a bad month for me, it has come up a lot. But being able to discuss that and have other people say, yeah, so am I, because that opens a dialogue. Not that we're all, because I haven't seen that at all. No, but everybody's not going, oh my God, yes, life is horrible, I can't stand it. Yes, I understand, life is miserable, let's just all go and weep and wail in the corner. Like, it's not been like that. It's really been, you know what, yeah, I lost my dad X amount of time and I have a very difficult time. Here's a hug, or this is what I do, or just little notes back and forth and things like that. It's been a wonderfully enriching environment, not a let's all moan at the wall, although there are times that you do need somebody just to stand there at the wall with you while you're weeping. But it hasn't been like that. So anyways, my point being that being able to verbalize and to ask for help when you're trying to slog through and remain stable during a difficult time, being able to reach your hand out and know that somebody else will grab it back, that's really powerful. And it's not like I've not had that, because I have had people who would be there to reach it out. But what I haven't had was the ability to reach out, the ability to say that, because I'm such an internal person. I know it's hard to believe, but I am such an internal person that I can talk your ears off about a generality. But for me to really speak on my personal feelings of where I'm at, my personal pain, and for me to physically, just say, I need help, or I need a hug, or something like that. Give me a virtual hug. That is something that has been something that you all have been a part in teaching me. And I would always say that to everybody. You need to reach out for help. You need to ask for help when needed. I could say all the right things, but I wasn't always doing it on that personal level. So there's that. Laughter. Can we just for 1 minute have a very clear conversation about laughter? When you are in an anchor cross time period, difficult time, there's nothing funny about what's going on, laughter is an amazing resource. Being irreverent, it's okay. Be irreverent. Joke about the things that people kind of cringe about. It's okay. My family's pretty irreverent, and the people I surround myself with are very often rather irreverent, and okay to just have a good laugh. One of the people that I love the most in the world is very, very, very good at being irreverent and, again, not inappropriately. There's a time for crying and there's a time for, holding each other and holding space and all that. But there comes a certain point where it's kind of, you've done all that and now it's time just to crack a joke and break the ice and just get a good, ridiculous, weepy laughing going. That's an amazing medicine, and it allows you to in a very serious time period, understand that there are things about life that are just absurd, and you can do nothing but laugh. It's only going to help to just, whatever. Life has got a really bad sense of humor sometime, and all you can do is laugh. So laughter, it is. Humor is a good thing. Again, in the right, there are inappropriate times for the use of humor, but sometimes it is quite appropriate. So those are some things that would help. I can think of off the top of my head, having no preparation, for what would get me and keep me grounded through difficult times. I also will say crystal now, I have been working, especially this last week or two, with, like I said, I think yesterday, I haven't generally worked with crystals and things for myself specifically. I always work with them with clients and with readings, and obsidian has been really, Miss Maureen gave me a sphere of obsidian, and that has been extremely grounding for me. Miss Romantic gave me this piece of quartz, as well as this other, my Big Ben, which Miss Stone gave me. The quartzes and the obsidians have been very, very helpful to me. I also picked this up, or I just got this yesterday, which I think I already showed, this lepidolite, which is supposed to be very healing. I definitely want to get a couple more. I can see using this in my practice, so I'm going to... I like who I bought this through, and I'm going to see if she had any other pieces, because, yeah, this I think is great. So that's been one as well. So, yeah, the use of crystals, and especially in terms of grounding, like with the anchoring, I found obsidian to be very, very grounding. It's over there, or I would show it to you, but I had it over there today while I was at my desk. So yeah, there we go. Now, I guess for a spread test, or for a spread tip for this, I shouldn't have put those in there. Let me find it again. I'm going to do, I've done this before. I do have a longer video on this, so if you search for Airstrip, it's a Kipper reading actually, but it works great with anything Lenormand, Kippery, and I've done it even with tarot. But generally I use Lenormand, Kipper, or the Chronicles of Destiny cards for it. But you basically pick a card representing where you are now and where you want to get to. So in this case, because of what we just talked about, we're going to have the cross card, because let's say we are in a difficult time, which is what the kind of topic of the cards is. So let's find, I want it the Sun and the cross. So we are in a period of the cross, and we are trying to, then you have a card representing where you're trying to get to. So those are your two cards that you have there. And then what you do is you shuffle the card. Now I tend to take out, for this one, the significator cards, because this is the significator in a sense, and then this is where we're trying to get to. So sometimes I'll even put the lady or the man here, and then the card they're trying to get to. That way the cross has a chance to be burdens. But in this case, we know that we're coming from burdens, so having burdens come up isn't necessarily going to help anything. We know that this is a difficult situation. So I'm personally going to remove lady and man, because I find sometimes in these kinds of readings, it just gets confusing, because I truthfully, for the most part, read significator cards as purely significators, not anything else, although the man can be used for leadership, as we talked about, or a leader type person, or a leader type energy, while the female can be for that intuitive, receptive energy. So we're shuffling on how can I move from this difficult time I'm in to a place of more happiness. You shuffle your cards up, and then you lay down 7 cards, and this is the only time I can say that I can think of that I ever lay cards face down. That's just simply not. I like to lay it all out, see how everything is working together. But in this case, you lay out 7 cards. 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so here are our 7 cards. That's how I like to lay them, although it looks a little opera-jawed, but that's all right. That's okay. Okay, so we're trying to get from the cross to the sun. And then the first thing that you do is you lay over the first 3 cards at one time. And you read those first. So here we have that it is a winding path to harmony. So the path to harmony is a winding one that is going to get us across this mountain. But, we do have, this is red. Okay, let me qualify something, because I do often use Chronicles of Destiny and or Kipper cards, but there's the same concept here. The idea is to read a more linearly, so more in a sentence-y kind of thing than it is trying to match things up. So here we have the idea that this is going to be a winding road. It's going to be a little bit difficulty, but staying true to the idea of trying to be in harmony, trying to keep things in harmony and balanced is what's going to help to get us over these particular obstacles that we are enduring. So when you read your first message, you then continue on, and this is important because you continue to do one card flipped over at a time until you feel like you've answered the question, and you generally know when you've answered the question. I will sometimes still peek, but I will tell you that very often once I know, let's say I go do all the way up to here and I know, okay, the question's answered. When I flip this one over, it has nothing to do with anything. Or if I do these two and then I feel like I'm done and I flip these two over anyways, they're usually irrelevant. It doesn't even make sense. It's like those cards are not necessary because we've already gotten our answer. It's quite interesting how it happens, and it happens all the time because I always end up peeking. I'll just slide the card down. Like if I feel like I'm done there, I'll then slide it down and say, well, I'm just going to go ahead and peek, and I'll look. So, you know, in a sense, you could say that this is done, but we're still not over the mountain yet, right? So I'm going to flip the next card over, and we have the heart card. So relationships are going to be important to get us through this difficult time, reaching out to other people, you know, what we talked about. This is going to be an important part of getting through this and onto our path to happiness. So let's just keep going. So there's going to be difficult times though, because again, we have the snake that says this isn't something that's going to be over. There's not a, you know, if this is obviously this is to do with me, it's the case. There is not going to be a time in which this particular cross is going to be completely finished. It's the snake. It's a winding path. Some days are going to be, you know, good. Some days are going to be bad. It's always going to be a back and forth to that, and that's something that I need to come to an acceptance of, which I feel like I have. But you know, that's something to be reminded that I'm not, the goal of my grieving journey is not to have the grief ending, but to have it manageable and to have it not be overpowering so that I can't function at times in my life. So then we also have the key to success. So there is a way to successfully navigate this. Not that it's going to be completely over, but that I can successfully move on to my life with this, and that heads me to the stars and the sun. So now that time I actually felt like all of the cards were appropriate because it was telling a narrative that worked. Sometimes it's that way. Sometimes I get to here and I feel like, okay, that question's answered. Sometimes to here. Sometimes to here. Very rarely do I stop at the first three. But it has, I'm trying to think if that's happened. I'm not entirely sure about that one. I'm probably too impatient to see at least one card. So that is what's called the landing strip or airstrip card. I do this in my shop and I call it the get there. You know, how do I get from here to there kind of spread. And again, you can do this with tarot, although it's a little bit harder because it's not such a linear message. I mean, it can be, but you can do it also. But I mostly do it with Lenormand, Kipper, or Chronicles of Destiny, which is kind of a blend of Lenormand and tarot. And so there we have a little tip so you can kind of figure out where you are right now and figure out where it is that you're wanting to get to. This could be a job. Very often it's a job, you know, a new job. This could be the moon for wanting to start a business. You know, there's a school. There could be a book for some new learning that needs to be. And what are the steps that are needed to be taken so that we can get to this position? So I hope that this has been helpful and interesting. And tomorrow we are going to start with spreads. And I think you're going to be so much more comfortable. I think the 3-card spreads are going to be like nothing for you, right? Because we've kind of already done these, but now that you've had all this time, it'll be interesting to see how comfortable that you feel going through these different spreads. So I'll see you guys all tomorrow.